Blast off.
Oh my
Blast
God.
off.
dude.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the heartache podcast. My name is Sid, and we have the three hacketeers together today: Jose, Josh, and myself. And today we're going to be talking about change management. And like a lot of our podcasts outside of the NIST 800 series, we tend to get on here and just talk about things that we experience in our day to day and how what we experience, how like we basically just want to take our knowledge and our experiences and share with the greater world, for lack of a better word here, to help educate everybody on what you could be thinking about, what you could be going through, and how to approach it in the best possible way. Again, using our experience working with multiple people, multiple clients, multiple industries, etc. Josh, go ahead and take it away. What is change management?
So, just, keeping this at a high level, the first thing I want to point out is that change management, in my experience, is a dividing line, a divider in organizational maturity. We talk a lot on this podcast about organizational maturity, cybersecurity maturity, like things like, of that sort. There's, you know, organizations that do security, do IT, do their system, but they don't really have a formalized process. Getting this formalized process in place is a pretty substantial step in my experience to becoming a more mature organization that's better able to handle things. Your results are a little less person centric, and by that I mean it's a little bit less dependent on whether on Jim or Alice and their unique, what makes them individuals, and a little more standardized. It could be either of those two, and you get the same result. Exactly like change management sounds, we're talking about managing changes. So you set up this wonderful secure environment. You set up this wonderful business process that's making you money, and you're trucking along, and everything's awesome. And then one day something doesn't work, and you have to change it. Change management is about how you track those changes so you know what changed. You get those changes approved, right? Somebody's accountable for those changes. How do you track the process of the change? Where are you in the change management, the implementation process? Are you at the beginning? Are you at the middle? Are you at the end? Are you ahead of schedule, behind schedule? What were the unforeseens? And then, most importantly, from a security perspective, that all those changes get some kind of security review to make sure that they are in line with or acceptable with or meet the risk appetite of the organization, that you're not making a change that suddenly introduces this massive new risk that you weren't prepared for.
But what are the downfalls of not actually executing on change management? I'll kick this over to Jose.
The downfalls to not having a good change management solution can be the loss of money because you're spinning your wheels during a project. And then ultimately, it could look bad upon the people that are working on the projects, whether it's a third party or somebody internal in your office. As Josh stated, change management, sorry guys, is essential to keeping a project and a solution in check, or at least to know where you're at when you're having to adapt and change solutions or parts of the solution that you're working on. So ultimately, if you're not doing the right things when it comes to changes, then you lose track of what you're doing, and things start to go awry.
Yeah. And one of the big things for change management is we're not necessarily talking about tracking everything your IT people do. So as an example, I just was working with somebody. They have a policy that everybody's supposed to have antivirus software on their computer. We just discovered that a couple people didn't have that software. So what we did was we brought them back into compliance. We installed the antivirus software. That's not change management, because we didn't change the baseline. We didn't change the expectation for people or any kind of like architecture or processes. We brought people back into compliance. That's not change management. Change management is changing a whole process, right? People are no longer going to access files through a server. They're going to access them through some other server or remote desktop
or the cloud.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, the cloud. Exactly.
Yeah.
Like that's where this is when you are changing the business. So if you don't have this, what happens is you don't know what's changed in your business, and your business, the reality of your business will no longer match your concept of the business. It won't match what you think your business looks like. The processes won't match the way you think people are doing things. If you're in a compliance framework, this is very bad, because you may have a change that you didn't know about that brings you out of compliance, and you won't find out until someone runs an audit, and the person doing the audit might not be friendly to you being out of compliance. It might be friendly, but it might not be.
Yeah, either unfriendly or just you just fail.
Yeah, it could be very bad.
He must be nice when he's doing it, but you still fail.
It's like this. It's like this says it's supposed to be this way, and it's this other way. Oh yeah, we changed it. We just forgot to update it. Oh well, this new way isn't compliant. You've been doing it for 6 months, so fail.
Yep.
And then the big thing is, and I talked a lot about the risk tolerance earlier. If you don't have this, you cannot maintain a risk-informed security posture, risk-informed decision making. You cannot be confident that your security is what you think it is, because you don't know what's changed and what the effect of those changes are, because you don't have a process. And the idea is that you have a standardized process. Maybe you're thinking to yourself, you're like, no, every time somebody makes changes, this person contacts, so-and-so and they hash it out. But is it a standardized process? Is it going through all the steps that need to be present, or is it ad hoc? And if it's ad hoc every time, where you're doing it a different way each time, the risk there is that you might miss a step. You might miss a critical step, not take into account something that you should have, not bring in a stakeholder that needed to be brought in. So that risk, not having this, increases your risk, even if you're not in a compliance framework. Even if it's just you running your business and making money, you're opening yourself up to risk that you're going to lose money. You're going to have an incident. Someone's going to put something in that doesn't work. It's going to cost you money. I'm going to kick this back over to Sid, you and Jose. But even just think about something where there's no security incident, but things just don't work. You're migrating to a new system, and the new system migration doesn't work. And then suddenly you can't get any work done, and you're losing money every day because you can't get work done, because you don't have a robust change management process to anticipate these risks and have alternatives and mitigations for those risks. Sid, Jose, I'll let you guys riff on that.
Well, Josh, you hit the nail on the head when it comes to your risk appetite and knowing what you actually have. So, if you think you have something in place, and then when you go to actually do, like, let's say migration, and you don't have the items in place that you thought you did, then that becomes an issue. Again, it becomes a procedural issue. It becomes an issue with being able to complete the job on time, and ultimately, it hurts the pockets of the business leaders, of the owners.
And that's really where the rubber hits the road, right? Is the
Yeah, I mean,
backlog.
I
That's
mean, there's a little
that's what
bit of
everybody cares about.
it's pretty simple. Like, if you don't know what you have, how are you going to make changes and be able to at least know what you're coming from and going to, in terms of technological move or procedural move, or a risk assessment. If somebody comes into your office and is doing a risk assessment, you're gonna tell them you're doing something a specific way, and if that way is not the way you're doing it, then they're going down the wrong path. You're giving them bad information, and it's costing the business money.
Even outside of a third party, even just with the primary party, I'm thinking there's some companies I work with, clients, great people, but I don't see them very often. I come in once a year, once every 6 months, and we do the checkup. And I always ask them. First question I ask them, what's changed? Oh, nothing's changed. We haven't changed anything since you were last here. And then I dive in and I'm looking for things. And hey, where is this? Like, this backup is supposed to be being backed up to this hard drive on this server by this system, and it's not there. Oh, well, now we do it this other way. Or in really bad cases, it's, oh, we got rid of that and we didn't realize that that was our only backup, and we've just been running for 6 months without a backup. That's change management, right? Because nobody was controlling that, and things just happened for legitimate reasons, for good reasons. Things just happened. Or things that might not be an incident turn into an incident. There's another client. They had a RAID on their server, a RAID setup, which that's technical. So just to unpack that, that's when you got two hard drives that are mirroring each other. So you have two copies of the data. One hard drive fails, you have a
Two,
backup
three,
hard drive.
five.
Yeah, RAID 5. So if one drive fails, right, it's a no big deal. You get a notification, hey, this drive failed.
That's RAID 1 for everybody listening.
Everyone can still access the data, and your tech guy goes in and puts in a new hard drive and recopies over the data, right? It's an IT spent some hours on things, no impact to business. Well, change management didn't exist. Somehow there was only one drive, not two. There was no RAID anything. And then when the drive failed, as drives tend to do, now it was a big issue. Now there's lost work, lost money, lost time. We got to go put a new drive in. We got to go find the backup. We got to go move everything over from the backup, and it takes time.
Considerable amount of time.
And cost. And again, that's money. That's a cost. You're losing money. Even if time is money. You lost time, you lost some amount of money. And
ultimately, is that what we're trying to convey here, I think, is that business owners, you should have a change management policy in place, because, as Josh just stated, time is money, and wasting time is money. You're wasting money, and not only that, but as we've talked about, it's when you don't know that something's not the way that you thought it was, like a backup, like a RAID, and then you look and you say, oh man, there's only one hard drive in here. Then that adds a whole nother situation to the configuration and what you need to do to get that company back up and running. Another days, hours, weeks, just adds more time.
That ultimately is my final thought as well. Having a good change management policy, actually executing on that change management policy might actually seem time consuming in the moment, in the moments that you are, executing on it. But when the rubber meets the road, when something happens, that change management log actually executing on it is going to save so much time and so much money that it's going to be a net positive ultimately in the end.
And it's also going to make you look good, whomever's in charge of the infrastructure. Knowing your business is the most important thing, right? Like, if you know your business, then having something in place like change management is essential.
Well, it's like you wouldn't have a check on you wouldn't have your finance person not have a check and balance before they just pay a new invoice, right? Someone sends a random invoice for $60,000
That's it.
and your finance person's like, "Oh, guess this is a new person," and pays it out. No, like you have a process for how new billing happens. This is the same thing. You have a process for how changes happen. And then if you have a problem, you're changing something breaks, you can look at, well, what did I just change that caused this thing to break? Where should I start looking? Instead of, you come in and whatever's broken and you're like, I don't know what's going on.
Yep. Hands up in the air.
And Sid, you're right. It's one of those things, and this is the challenge and this is why this is a organizational maturity step, is that it is time consuming to put this together. It takes expertise to put it together. This isn't just, you grab someone, just some middle manager and say, write a change management process. Like this is a bit of expertise, and it does add work. There's steps that people have to do, and there's assigned responsibilities, and you're going to assign people, actual individuals are going to be responsible for things, and they're going to have things that they need to do as part of the process to keep up with this. It's some front end work, and it saves so much on the back end. You're gonna see dividends on the back end in 1 year, in 2 years, in 3 years, as your organization evolves, as your organization grows, as it inevitably changes. You're gonna be on top of it, and it's management. Just like you're gonna manage people, you got to manage change, you got to manage growth.
Sid sleeping?
Always.
He's napping right now.
That's right. He just does that intro bit, and then he just puts it on mute, and he just goes.
Naps. Yep. He sleeps.
He
Or he
makes
does something else. Plays a video game. Who knows?
Yeah. Goes to a whiskey tasting.
He's really not even in front of a computer right now, honestly.
That's right. Sid is not a beer guy. I guarantee you he's a top shelf liquor guy.
You guys need to keep going? I'll wait till we're done so I can stop.
We're just rising on you now.
Yeah, we're going to stop. It's harassment after a while.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the SureTech Podcast, The Three Hacketeers. If you found value in what you listened to today, please give us a like. Do follow us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. In the description, there will be a link tree that will take you to our social media pages, and you can keep up with us on your favorite social media platform. If you'd like to get in touch with us here at SureTech, please email us at info@sure-technologies.com, which is also in the description. Thanks again, and see you on the next one.